Mao Zedong's legacy is one of the most polarizing in modern history, often overshadowed by accusations of tyranny and chaos. However, when we peel back the layers of bias and misinformation, a different picture emerges. One of a leader who transformed China and profoundly impacted the lives of billions. The criticism of Mao Zedong originates from a variety of sources, both within China and from the international community. Foreign powers, particularly those opposed to communism, vilified Mao for his unwavering independence and the revolutionary path that he charted for China. His pursuit of socialism was often dismissed as chaotic and fruitless by Western critics who viewed his policies through their political ideologies. This led to a widespread portrayal of Mao Zedong as a tyrant who plunged China into unnecessary turmoil. Domestically, some of Mao's colleagues such as Deng Xiaoping and Zhou Enlai contributed to this critical narrative, albeit in more nuanced ways. While they recognized Mao's leadership, they also sought to distance themselves from more radical aspects of his rule, often portraying him as a leader who was 70% right and 30% wrong. This 30% critique was not only a reflection of their political ambitions, but also means to temper Mao's overwhelming influence. Despite this, the Chinese people, who had experienced the transformative effects of his policies firsthand, largely rejected this critical assessment, understanding that Mao's vision and efforts were pivotal in pulling China out of centuries of stagnation and foreign domination. Before Mao Zedong came to power, China was a nation ravaged by foreign occupation, poverty, and internal strife. The country was fragmented, with various regions under the control of foreign powers or warlords. Japan occupied 3 northern provinces, while Britain, France, Germany, and the United States had established their own spheres of influence, exploiting China's resources and people. The nation was predominantly agrarian, with widespread illiteracy and extreme poverty. Of the 400 million people, 50 million were drug addicts, 80% were illiterate, and life expectancy was a mere 35 years. The country was also deeply entrenched in feudalistic practices, with women being subjected to foot binding, arranged marriages, and systemic oppression. Under Mao's leadership, China underwent an unprecedented transformation. He prioritized education, leading to a dramatic increase in literacy rates, which rose to 84% by the time he stepped down in 1974. Life expectancy also doubled to 67 years as healthcare and living conditions improved. Mao's policies also eradicated the severe wealth disparity that had plagued the country, ensuring that even the poorest regions had access to electricity, infrastructure, and basic necessities. The economy grew by 500%. A remarkable achievement considering the starting conditions. Drug addiction, which had once affected millions, became a distant memory, and crime rates plummeted. Mao's vision and relentless efforts not only modernized China's infrastructure, but also uplifted the living standards of millions, laying the foundation for the nation's future growth. Despite facing a brutal US blockade on food, finance, and technology, Mao Zedong managed to grow China's economy at an average rate of 7.3% annually, significantly outpacing the US post-war boom, 3.7%. This was an extraordinary achievement considering the challenges that China had faced, including the devastation of World War II, civil war, and severe resource constraints. Mao's economic policies led to a 5-fold increase in GDP and quadrupling of literacy rates, and the doubling of caloric intake. Grain production increased by 300%. While industrial output saw a 40-fold increase, with heavy industry expanding 90-fold. Under Mao, China also made significant strides in infrastructure, with rail lineage increasing by 266%, rail freight tonnage by 2,000%, and the road network by 1,000%. Steel production, which had been negligible before Mao, reached 35 million metric tons per year by the time of his death. These achievements were unparalleled in modern history, demonstrating the effectiveness of Mao's economic strategies despite the severe external and internal pressures China had faced. Mao's efforts to modernize and unite China not only saved the nation from disintegration, but also redefined what it meant to be Chinese in the 20th century. He reimagined China as a sovereign, socialist state that could stand independently on the world stage, free from the humiliation of foreign domination. His policies fostered a sense of national pride and cohesion that had been absent during the tumultuous years of war and occupation. By the time he retired, Mao had not only transformed China into a modern unified state, but also laid the groundwork for the country's emergence as a global power. His vision, determination, and intellectual contributions continue to shape China's development and its role in the world today. Mao Zedong remains deeply revered in China, particularly in rural areas, where his policies significantly improved living conditions, education, and healthcare. For many, Mao symbolizes liberation from feudal oppression and continues to influence their lives. His enduring popularity is evident in the pilgrimage of over 10 million people to his birthplace in Shaoshan each year, reflecting the deep admiration many still hold for them. This widespread devotion highlights Mao's lasting impact as a cultural icon and as a symbol of national pride in China. Despite many of the criticisms and claims made against Mao Zedong and his leadership, claiming that he was tyrannical and a dictator that plunged China into chaos, when we look at his achievements, we can see a leader who profoundly impacted China in a positive way and who truly cared about his people. I would suggest watching the other videos I have on the channel about Mao Zedong if you are interested in this topic.